Good morning, Matt and Va, Cymru Hashib. Welcome to Island at the Edge. As Lady Diane just said, I'm Yasmin. And this is my store and this is my croft. I'm a crofter. And that means I raise sheep and cows and donkeys. And we breed the sheep specifically for their wool. So what we have is a range of different kinds of yarns, and we tend to err on the side of tradition. So we have the very rare oiled Aran, which is a thick wool with the lanolin still in. We have your regular double knit, and we also have the lesser known or lesser available Hebridean 5-ply worsted, which is a combed wool. I think you might call it lace fingering across in the US. It kind of knits up to a 4-ply, but we use that specifically for Guernsey or Guernsey knitting. So it's a nice close wool and has 5 plies in one strand.
Awesome. And can you tell us a little bit about this one if I take you over to the corner
Guernsey.
here, the Guernsey?
Yeah, certainly can. So this is a traditional knit fisherman's Guernsey. This is knitted with the gentleman, this lovely boy up here, his very first fleece. Sadly, he's no longer with us, but he lives on in a portrait that a friend made for me. To your left there's a traditional blue Guernsey. So this is what they made down in Englandshire, and this again is hand knitted in the round. And as you can see, it has no motifs on, whereas when you look at the west coast, or certainly the Scottish and northeastern one, it has lots of motifs. Some say that historically that they would use all these motifs to denote who the person was, and that would therefore be used as identification, sadly, should they end up overboard. But it was also used for employment. So it was a bit like wearing your CV, and I think that that's just fantastic.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So we knit these in the round traditionally on 5 knitting needles. We supply packs, and we also knit them to commission for the discerning customer. They are numbered, and we are starting to be coming with a certificate of authentication, and we design them for people like physicists and you name it. As long as there's a maritime theme in there, we can knit them up for people.
Oh, that's fantastic. And would you mind telling our audience about your story about coming home?
Well, it's interesting. Who do you think you are and who you are really might be two very, very different things. So I'm a Northumbrian. I take Northumbrian sometimes, but nobody can understand what I'm taking about. So I tend to posh it down a little bit, and people say I sound like a posh Geordie. If you come from the northeast, you'll know exactly what I'm saying. Anyway, about 4 years ago, Trevor and I did our DNA tests, and it came back that I was Scottish and Irish and a bit of English. And then we had an update last year, and it came about that I'm 78% Scottish, the rest of me is Irish, and there's not a drop of Northumbrian blood in my veins. But here's the thing. A cousin contacted me, and it turns out that I'm a MacLeod, and actually I'm standing on the croft that my forebears owned a few hundred years ago. Across the loch there is where some of my family are buried. They also built Grishinish House Hotel, which is also on the other side of the loch, and they were involved with Gesto Hospital down in the village here of Edinbane. So who do you think you are? And who are you really? You need to have a little look. It's fascinating.
Oh, thank you so much, Yasmin. That was just amazing. I love the story. And can I show them around the store and then introduce them to Solace?
Yes.
This place is beautiful. It's got some stuff from other local artists as well. And this Croft, you do tours, don't you?
We do.
Right round the Croft. It's like a 2-hour tour, you said, wasn't it? Look at some of these yarns, they're beautiful.
The grey sweater that you're just filming there now is very, very unique. Again, that's another of my own designs. It is expensive because I can only produce one of those a year if I'm lucky. and that's because the black Cheviot sheep is the only one that has this quality of fleece. It is, she's a black Cheviot, but like the best of us, she's gone a bit grey with a little bit of age, and so it's hand spun and hand knitted, and there's nearly 700 hours of work in that.
Wow.
It's very heavy, but boy, will that not half keep out the cold weather. Now the pattern is known as the Kaloran, and that's because it is based on a film called I Know Where I'm Going, which is a 1947 film. Recommend you have a little peep at that. And when we lived on Colonsea, before we moved here, my sheep used to graze on Kaloran Bay. So I researched the film, which was about Colonsea, and came up with this design to represent the chains of married life that were represented in the film.
Oh wow, so that's the story behind those links.
Yeah.
So everything here has meaning. It's just wonderful. And this is the Nicholson outfit. It's just wonderful. So much here. Look at all of these. Oh, absolutely wonderful. And you may notice that there's a young man sitting outside guarding his territory. I'm going to bring him in to meet you.